Stream. Stop screen sharing. Yeah. Hello everyone. You are welcome to JAMstack Lagos. Excited that I'm the new lead of JAMstack Lagos. My name is Okwenyupo, by the way. My name is Okwenyupo Disu. Um, I'm the new lead of JAMstack Lagos. Predecessor of Gift Igwenu, and then we'll be having this event in few minutes or few seconds. Yeah. So basically this is Jamstack Lagos first meetup. Like this is the first event I'm organizing for Jamstack Lagos as the new lead. So basically I'm going to be having two speakers. We're going to be having two speakers that they are Joe Varty and Olubisi Idris, if I'm right. Yeah, basically we are going to be talking about Jamstack stuffs, and I think there will also be a Q and A if there is anyone who asks any questions. I think that's it. So you can kindly follow me on Twitter at Skoda of Lagos, any social media platform at Skoda of Lagos. So yeah, thanks so much for joining. I'm going to be having the speakers right now. Yeah.
Hi guys, I hope you guys can hear me. Yeah, thanks Ope for giving me this session. I welcome you all to the Jamstack event, virtual event, Lagos, which is happening today on the 12th of December 2020. I really appreciate you guys for joining. Today, I will be taking you through the Jamstack, what Jamstack entails, how to get started with Jamstack, and why do we even need Jamstack at the first place, in the first place rather. So I will be sharing my screen shortly so that we can get started as fast as possible. A minute, please. Okay, great. I hope you all can see my screen. Ope, can you see my screen? All right. Come in a moment, please.
Oh,
Okay, it's coming up.
sorry about that. I think it's your internet. Okay, yeah, it's
How about now? Oh, all right, great. Okay, so today, like I said earlier, I'll be talking about Jamstack and how to get started with Jamstack. So, brief. My name is Idris Olubisi, as stated earlier by Ope, and then I'll be taking you through what Jamstack is and why do we need to move our site, our existing site, to the Jamstack site. So, brief intro about me. I am a software engineer, speaker, and also a technical writer. And I am passionate about writing code that solves human problem, of course. So, um, in a moment, we'll get started. I hope you all are ready today so that we can get started. Great. So, what is Jamstack? Yes, Jamstack, like I said earlier, Jamstack is an architecture designed to make the web faster and at the same time secure without compromising the scalability of any application being deployed to start Jamstack. So, the philosophy behind the Jamstack technology adhere to the components like the Jam that is mentioned in the Jamstack. The Jam actually means the JavaScript and the API, then the markup. So that's what we actually mean by jam, like the jam, what the jam implies in that jam, that word Jamstack. So Jamstack makes it easier for you to deploy your website within a short period of time and not compromising the fact that it has a faster speed and it's more secure. Why JAMstack? Fine. JAMstack, when talking about JAMstack, the first thing you should think of is security. Is JAMstack secure? You might be wondering, we have a lot of things we set up for our site to be up and running. How do you tend to handle that? JAMstack's security is top notch, and because the way it is classified as top notch is because pages are served, all the pages and assets that are served are pre-generated, and this allows a read only. So in a read-only format, it reduces the vector of attack. So even if there are so many attacks, if a data that isn't pure, or probably let me say pure, a data that is not accessible, that is a read-only format, seems to be more secure on the web, which reduces the vector attack from anywhere. And another thing about why you will need Jamstack and why exactly do we have to move our existing site or build a new site using the Jamstack infrastructure. So um, the scale, Jamstack site is scalable. And why? How is it even scalable? Because all the entire site is served from the CDN, so there's no any complex workflow behind it to determine maybe the asset is being served, is being cached, or maybe there's a way you can try to minimize the response rate, all those kind of stuff that you calculate when you're trying to build a normal application. That's a traditional application, which is different from Jamstack architecture. We also talk about performance. I already said it that those pages are pre-generated ahead of the time. So there's nothing stopping or maybe trying to hinder the speed and the performance of the site for a page that is being pre-generated ahead of the time. That's during the build, which is not done on the server side. That actually slows down everything. You understand? So you might be wondering, maybe that's all about Jamstack, what Jamstack gives out of the box. No, we still have about two more. Maintainability and portability. I've said this before that Jamstack sites are pre-generated and ahead of the time where it's being served to the client. So you simply connect directly. It's the maintainability part of it is that you can easily move a site on an existing platform to another platform without needing any kind of expert for you to do some configurations or anything like that that has to do with extra effort to move the site from one hosting platform to the other. And also, Jamstack is portable enough because um, you have varieties of hosting platform, and we have a couple of them that can host Jamstack sites, which makes it more easier to move one site to move a site from a particular hosting platform to another hosting platform. I think that's clear. So that's the portability part of it. It's very durable. You can actually decide, okay, today we are trying to change our hosting platform, and we'll be using so platform today. The time to configure or to move your site from that particular hosting platform to the new one you're planning to go for is quite easier and much faster. So what makes up Jamstack? We have some architecture behind Jamstack and what actually makes up Jamstack, which you might be thinking, "Hmm, is this something you don't understand? Don't worry, I'll take you through the process right now." So Jam, like I said earlier, the word JAM implies JavaScript, the API, and macro. As you can see from the screen, a JavaScript, like you all know, is the front end framework, which has to do with React. You have a couple of them, a whole lot of them, which has to do with React, Vue, Angular, and we have quite much of libraries and framework that you can use on the client side. And also the API, we have the Auth0, and the Cloudinary API, which is free. We have the Contentful API, which you can connect to your site easily. And the static site generator that generates your markup for you. We also have a whole lot of them, but the few in this diagram, that's the Gatsby, the Hugo, and 11ty, which can be used to generate static file. So how do we compare? Okay, what is the similarities or difference between the old uh, and the new architecture? As you can see in the diagram, um, on the left hand side is the traditional, which I refers to as the old architecture. Then on the right hand side is um, the architecture of using the JAMstack site. So as you can see from the diagram, you can see the traditional way of doing it. You get your content from the DB, try to do some UI component stuff, or if there's also a payment that is included, then to the presentation layer, then finally to where you connect your forms or you do some authorization and authentication. That's the way it is. So we have the example of them like the WordPress, the Drupal, which are content management system. So on the right hand side, as you can see from the diagram, that the content system is quite decoupled from the content mesh, then from the CI/CD, which is where you host, you actually host the platform. So we can have a system that is decoupled from each other. Very easy. You can host your content somewhere, bring it in with an API, statically generate it with all these static Jamstack providers, which like Gatsby, Google CMS. We have tons of them. With some, View. So you can try to bring it in so that they can generate a static site for you. Then before accessing it, so this all the static site generator, which is the content mesh, where the content mesh actually happen. This happen during the build process. So all the pages are pre-generated ahead of the time. So immediately you host the website, you notice that you won't see any click action. Once you click, it renders. Once you click, it renders because it has been pre-generated by default. So you don't really need any um, tough configuration or kind of set up a DB or hit a DB each time you need to serve a page. So are you thinking of a way to try it out? Fine. I got it covered. There are some examples I'll be showing in the next slide about the Jamstack on how you can go ahead and try it out. So these are examples of static site generator. Yes. So we have tons of them. We have many actually. So I just picked some for you to see. I know you might be familiar with some of these already, and if you are new to it, that's fine. We have the Ugo, we have the Gatsby, we have Jekyll, we have Metasmith, we have Noxt. These are static site generator. Even Book is also a static site generator which generates the markups for you out of the box. And we also have headless CMS. This is where you can bring in your APIs. We have the content flow API, we have the agility. Yeah, they provide APIs for you to consume, so you can use that in your application, and also using it with what I shared earlier, which is the static site generator, then the API. So I think I have some Jamstack sites that I can show you. I know some of you might be familiar with it, so you can be able to see what we actually refer to when we say, okay, Jamstack site, Jamstack site. First is my portfolio, of course. It is Jamstack site, statically generated with Gatsby. Um, I built this seamlessly. Actually, like you all know that Jamstack site supports a Markdown. You can also build your blog using a Markdown file. Then the Gatsby will statically generate those files for you as a page. Then we also have the frequent camp site. I know many of us might have used this site before, and you can see how the performance is when you click. Just imagine when you are trying to make an assessment or trying to do some assessment on the site. You can see how fast it is and how responsive. These are the kind of things you get when you are using Jamstack: the load time, the performance, and the speed, like I said earlier. and also the Jamstack site, of course. They are actually the owner of the site, so they own this is the site where you can see and read much more about Jamstack. So the site itself is built, of course, with Jamstack. Then also Gift Igwenu, her blog also is the Jamstack site, and she used Noxt for the static generated file. So how possible it is for you to learn all these things I've been saying since a while. It's very possible, and you have a tons of resources out there. But I have already prepared a link where you can get tons of resources on articles, books, and videos. What you need to read and what you need to know to spin up your own site. So right now, here is the link to the resources. It's on my portfolio. That's GitHub. That's some just Jamstack resources. So you can get there. There are a whole lot of articles that is there already, videos, resources where you can learn, and articles that can even guide you to build your own blog or a Jamstack site immediately right from the article. So it's open source, of course, and feel free to contribute. Check the contribution guide where you can contribute. Probably if you're surfing online and you find out some other resources that you know might be useful for everyone, you can fork it and make your own contribution. Before I say thank you, I think if you are interested in this slide, it will be available. It's already available on this via this URL on my screen. It's already available via this URL on my screen. So I really appreciate you guys for joining. Thank you very much. And I'm open to any question if you have any question or any observation. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think where you can proceed, you may proceed right now. Hi, Okwe. Hello. I don't know.
Hello. Yeah. So I'm very, very sorry about that. So it was due to the internet connection here. And so yeah, we are going to be nice session. Yeah, nice session. So I'm going to be having Joe Varty or Agility CMS. So basically, Joe Varty, I've worked with Joe Varty before, and I worked with him about I think few months ago. Yeah, so I was a developer advocate for Agility CMS. So basically, I'm going to be having Joe Varty here, and I'm going to be adding him to the stream. So welcome, Joe Varty. Is the president of Agility CMS. So he's a JAMstack legend also. So yeah, nice meeting you. Let's have him here.
Hello there. Hey, everybody. Great to see you all coming at you from Port Hope, Ontario, Canada, which is near Toronto. Going to be talking today about sort of JAMstack 101. So thanks, for the previous presentation, which taught us sort of what JAMstack is. We're going to dig into one of the JAMstack tools that's really useful and it's really sort of growing in popularity. It's called 11T. So it's a static site generator. But we're not just going to learn 11T. We're actually going to learn 11T in a way that you can actually use it in your job to help you make money by connecting it with a headless CMS. So you can do this all for free, and we're going to show you how to deploy it on basically a free host as well. So you can deploy either on Vercel or on Netlify, something like that, which really works great. So first things first. This is a great opportunity to learn from each other. So I'm in the comments on YouTube there. So if you folks want to shoot some questions at me, I will try to answer them from there. Jump in and I will try to keep on top of all the stuff. A little bit about me. So yeah, I'm president at Agility CMS. My Twitter handle is at Joel Varty. So follow me on Twitter. That would be great to connect with you folks. And this is just incredible, like that, to be able to talk to folks half a world away. It's 9:20 in the morning here in Toronto, but for you folks, it's afternoon, and you're a world away. And I really want to visit Nigeria sometimes. It's been really great after this whole pandemic thing's over. Just something else about me. I love musical theater. So this is me playing Frankenstein. There's me playing the Music Man. This was me in a fun production of Spamalot. And I also coach football. So I coach high school football here in Canada. So I like to do a lot of things. And I think if you're a developer, it's always great to have other things in your life that you do. It's good to have hobbies. Otherwise, you can spend the whole time just sitting behind the computer. So let's talk about 11T. You should join the 11T party. Interesting little piece of trivia about 11T is where I know it's from is in Lord of the Rings, in the first movie, the first book, Bilbo Baggins, it's his 11th birthday at the first party. So that's fun. Fun little piece of trivia. What are we going to learn about today with 11T? Let's go through it. So we're going to use a free 11T starter from Agility CMS. So not only is it going to get you started with a bunch of code, but it's also going to help you hook it up to a CMS so you can use this like in your job to create websites. And another interesting 11T fact about how the site actually works, it's been picked up and it's being used a lot by the Google developers to actually build their documentation sites. So it's like getting a lot of traction in the industry. We're going to show how to deploy to Netlify or Vercel. Either one of these is going to work. We'll show you how you can actually get preview working from 11T from a CMS. And this is huge. If you want to use this in your career to actually build sites that other people are going to use, like your client can go and edit their content to replace something like WordPress. If you want to have a JAMstack static site, then you can actually get preview hooked up from the CMS. And I'll show you how to do that. And we'll get started in our local development environments, and we'll dig into sort of some code about how that's going to work. And I'll keep it pretty high level and pretty fast because, you all got your Saturday to get back to. Okay, here we go. A few more things. We're going to dig into how 11T actually works. We're going to show a little bit about Agility CMS content pages. And we're just going to look at how layouts work, how templates work, how modules work, both with 11T and with Agility CMS. And the example code I'm giving you today is actually built with Tailwind CSS and Alpine JS, which is, so 11T is interesting because it actually renders your site with no JavaScript on the front end. So 11t is 100% a back-end technology that runs on the build server. But Tailwind CSS is a front-end CSS platform, so it's amazing. And Alpine JS works on the front end. So 11t is different from something like Gatsby or Next because those are built on top of React, whereas 11t is much more, I would say, vanilla. So static site generation, a little bit, and this is sort of a similar thing to what we heard earlier in the earlier session, where it's different from a server-side rendered website where you don't have a web server. You have a build server, and it's going to take your code and your content from data APIs, and it's going to output static HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now, so in this case, 11t is going to be our build server, and it's going to be outputting our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And it's interesting that, that content, in this case, we're going to be showing it coming from a CMS, and you can use any headless. So when you hear the term headless CMS or even headless WordPress, that's what we're talking about, those data APIs that can be used. But you don't have to use those. I was actually, I see Henri Helvetica on here. So at the JAMstack, I think it was the JAMstack Toronto meetup, we had somebody on from Yorkshire, England. And what he was doing is he was running 11t on a Raspberry Pi, so like a really small sort of computing device, and he had it hooked up to, I think, an MRI machine or some kind of like medical imaging machine, taking the JSON files that it created and outputting them and building PDFs, all kind of HTML, sending emails, like doing all kinds of things from a Raspberry Pi. So it wasn't even working as a web server there. So 11t is very flexible, really cool tool. All right. So also, just before I jump out of the presentation and into some code, just a few things to follow. So Agility has a Slack channel that you can join. So this is basically join up and talk to our developers and part of our community. And actually, I can see Josh from Agility is online here too. So we're on that Slack channel. Open People is actually on there too. Lots of folks are there. That's part of the community, really talking about JAMstack and helping folks get started with like free accounts and how you can make money as a developer using headless CMS and JAMstack. At 11t is also something you can follow. Oh yeah, and I'm on there at Agility at Joel Vardy. So here we go. We're going to actually go to the 11t.dev site. Let's go check that out and see how we can get started with this. Okay, so I'm going to kill PowerPoint here. Here we go. Oh, geez. Hang on. I got a black screen here. Here we go. All right. So 11t.dev. This is where it all starts. And 11t has amazing docs, and it has its own sort of getting started stuff. And it has a bunch of starter projects. And this is how I got into 11t myself. As I came here and I'd heard about it, it's created by a guy named Zach Leatherman. He's really, really cool guy, built this, and it has taken off as an open source project. And there's a ton of starters here, and these basically all link off to GitHubs. So I'm going to look for the Agility starter. Now this is fairly new. We don't even Agility doesn't even have this on its list of starters yet. This is just kind of me finding it. So let's go and click on the Agility CMS 11t starter. So this is going to have everything we need, and it's got a README that takes us through the entire process. Now, if you're a developer, you're going to want to sort of go through this step by step yourself. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because that would take probably an hour or so just to go through it all and explain everything. But I'm going to let you walk through it. What if you go through basically to the point where you're, basically click on like, sorry, I'm scrolling too much. If you click on here, just basically get the free Agility CMS account. That's the starter point. And then basically you're going to clone this repo and connect those two things together. So this document takes you through that. Once you get to that point, you'll actually be in Agility CMS and you'll have your account. So you'll basically create an account. It's all free. And actually there's enough in the free package with Agility to run, if you have your own personal portfolio or blog or something like that, you can run that totally for free and then host it on Netlify or Vercel totally for free. So this is amazing. You can basically build a pretty great website without having to pay anything. Just especially as a developer, to learn the technology and use it in the wild is incredible. So that being said, you're going to basically get bumped into, it's actually our next JS content template, but I basically used that content and pulled it into 11t. Let's see how that works. So all the code is here. So what I've done is I've cloned this, and let's open it up in, here we go, in Visual Studio Code. So I've got this, and I've zoomed in. Hopefully I've zoomed in enough. So first thing I want to do is set up my environment file with the values from agility. So you need to grab the GUID, the fetch key, and the preview key. From there, I'm going to assume that you're going to be able to figure out how to do that and get it all going. And then it's a matter of just running it. And so anytime you're in a node project, just check the package.json, and that'll tell you sort of what you need to do. And the very standard sort of ones to look for is like, does it have a dev command or start command or a build command? And usually you can just run npm start. And this is how you're going to get going. So it's important to make sure you set up any environment files before you get going, because that's, but then you're ready to rock. And what 11t does for you is it actually gives you a web server that you can hit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And what that would have done is pull down my content and then run it in this site. So this is, it looks very similar, by the way, to tailwind.ui. So what I did is I took the free components from Tailwind UI, which is an amazing, amazing sort of product that is sort of gets you started. And they have a bunch of free components. And I just took those free components and created a website out of them. And interestingly enough, I also used on here something called Alpine.js. So I'll show you how that all works. So, okay, here we go. Let's take you through all the things that are happening here. Agility CMS uses something called page management, which gives you a sitemap file, which is amazing because that gives you what's called a list of routes. And 11t works on collections. So the list of routes that we get from Agility, so in Agility we have this pages section. So these are all the routes that are in the site. We can actually go and output those. So if you check the pages folder here, 11t has some sort of pre-named folder structure that works out of default. You can override it, but it's nice if you just work with the default. So _data is where all of our basically the global data and collections for this site comes from. All right. So if I look at the agility pages.js, well, all that's going to do is call into the agility API and pull out, if I scroll to the top here, it calls this get agility content. So it's going to pull that content into this a collection and give us some stuff that we can work with. And the first thing we work with is the sitemap, and it's going to give us a list of pages. And so that when we just go through that, I'm not going to go through the code exactly, but it basically outputs that list of pages that can now be routed because each one of those pages has a URL or a slug. And if the way Netlify 11t works is it starts and it basically goes through your pages folder and renders any of these templates in there. And the templates tell you where to look for any data, but it uses this global data as well. So if I check index, this is the first one that's going to render. This is the starting point for how this works when I run, npm run build or dev or whatever. Okay. So it's going to come in here and it uses this pagination idea. So it's going to basically iterate over every one of my pages in my collection and output them one by one. And it's going to give me an alias, or like an object called agility page. And I'm going to create a permalink. So these pages have a path, as I said, like a slug. So that is the URL that this will be available at. And it's going to use this layout. So this is an NJK file. It's a nunjux file. So it's going to actually use this nunjuk file to output it. So we have one nunjuk. So this is an index.njk. It's going to use this page layout, and it looks for the includes folder. Okay. So here we go. Here's my page layout.nunjuk. And now now I have a page object called agility page, and it has a bunch of properties that I can just output into my template. So I can see I've got my inside the head tag of my outputted HTML. And I think we're all usually pretty familiar with HTML for front-end developers. So we can output any of this data that's available in my global data sort of data objects. So we have agility page. We also have some global objects that we've created here. So like stuff for a global header, that's just all pulling from agility. We have some other SEO, if we have an OG image that's set, things like that. So we can output all this stuff here. And you can see that I'm actually being super lazy, and Henri would not like this, but I'm pulling in the entire Tailwind CSS in here because I didn't want to do any server-side sort of CSS bundling, which you really should do. So the Tailwind site has a lot of documentation on that. And I'm also pulling in, a font as well as the entire Alpine.js. So I'm sorry, Henri. Henri is he runs the JAMstack Toronto. He is like a UI web performance guru, especially for like loading too much CSS and JavaScript and images. So sorry, Henri. I will fix my demo at some point to make it a little bit faster. So we could be getting much better page speed scores with this demo with a little bit of work. Here we go. But wait, this isn't actually doing hardly anything. It's only outputting, a couple of other includes. So we can see that we can actually pull other Nunjuk files, so NJK files, into this one. And we actually have a dynamic include here. So it has a header and a footer that it gets output. And then it has basically because Agility has the idea of a page template. So what I did here is took that, hey, the page template file name is going to represent my Nunjuk, my actual my template. And so you can see here, I've got main template.njk. So this is where now we're actually going to be rendering our data out. And Agility has the idea, if I look at one of this, just jump to Agility for a second, it actually has the idea of modules inside here. And if you're a React developer, modules are kind of like components, and usually they render with a component. But in this case, we're going to render each module with a Nunjuk template. So we've got a hero that has a bunch of fields on it. We've got a rich text area. Let's take the rich text area because it's super basic. It has one field and it's got some HTML in it that we want to output. Let's see how that works. So what this does is it says, hey, there's a zone on here called main content zone. So that's like, this is in the, jump back to the page, main content zone. And it's going to go through all of the modules that are in here. And it uses a render modules template that all that does is take any one of these modules that's defined over here in Agility and say, here, based on the name of that module type, output it using a Nunjuk file. So I put those in a folder called modules, and here's the rich text area. So if we want to create more of these, we just basically create the right named file as we create more modules in our CMS. So let's look at rich text area. All it does is take the data that's passed to it. So it has a module item, a module object with an item property. Each one of that has fields, and the main field in rich text area is called text blob. And we're using this crazy prose tag. So Tailwind CSS has this idea of prose. So basically rendering really nice HTML. And we've got this other trick here so that by default, by the way, if I didn't have this, let's just take this out of here, this safe call. So it's going to hot reload my site over here. It would actually render my HTML like this. So this is kind of like React, similar to, good morning, Gemma. My daughter just woke up. Similar to like render unsafe HTML. So here we go. We're going to switch this back to safe mode to say, hey, we're okay with this, rich HTML being outputted. And there it is. And it gives us this beautiful prose that we can then, override because it's Tailwind. So really cool stuff. So that's, the templating is really cool because it's nested templating, and it basically pulls in your data and uses it from the CMS and makes it so that like there's no text in this code, right? Usually in some people's code and developers' code, there's something that's like where there's a piece of text that you have to edit. But you see, if you're using this for your job, then you don't want to be editing any content in the code. What you want to do is, as part of your job, build the website for your customer or whatever it is, and deploy that to obviously push it up to Git, deploy it out to Vercel or Netlify, some hosting environment, could be anywhere. But then give them a CMS to edit all the content so that your job as developers, now you're done. I built your website, here it is, you're good. And if you want any code changes, I'll do those. But if you want any content changes, you can do that yourself. So that's how all that works. We've taken you through really quickly how this code works here. I'll dig into something that's a little more similar to like other headless CMSs. So most headless CMSs, they just have the idea of like content, not pages. So let's look at how the data looks at from something like that. So almost every blog is going to have a list of posts. So Agility has a shared content section where we have a list of, here, let's jump into this content section. So this is like what most headless CMSs just have content. There's actually a list of these post objects, which are my blog posts. And a blog post has, a title, a date, an author, categories, the main content for that post, things like that. Well, let's look at how that gets rendered as, each post is its own page kind of thing. So the post has a list, it's available in _data. So I have this list of posts. And then what we need to do is actually get that content from Agility, obviously, and it returns each post as it needs to be, and actually truncates the excerpt if it needs to create you an excerpt for a listing. And then in the, so then we have a post details actual template. This gets rendered as part of the post details module. But you can see here, there's a whole lot of Tailwind code that's in here, but you can see I'm just rendering out, here's my post title. Here's the post category title. Here's my date string and a few of the things, my tags, all this stuff that comes out of here. And here's the actual post content. So when we render this, let's just jump over to the site for a second. We actually go to our blog. So we've got a listing of all these blog posts. So that mirrors this listing that's here, right? We've got 3. So if I create more posts in here, it's going to actually create more items on this listing. And each one has its own slug that renders out this content. And, it's really interesting that even though this isn't a React site, we're used to have like React or Nuxt to have things like sort of hot reloading, but like it's amazing that this has hot reloading for it to work here. So if I make changes in my code, it's automatically reflected in the browser. So it means that you can sort of do some work, test some things, and jump back and forth. So that's pretty cool as a way to work. But then once I've got all my code working, I've got it running locally. Okay, now what? We want to get this thing deployed, right? So what we do is, and there's a guide to help you do this in here. I think it's down near below, or maybe not. I don't know if I've done this. Okay, so this is not documented yet. But basically what I can do is I can take this and deploy it to Vercel or Netlify really, really easily. And let's just use Vercel for now, just for fun. So I'm going to go to vercel.com, and I already have an account. And you can see that I've been doing lots of work in here. And you can just click on Import Project. Okay, so it's going to import from a Git repository. So you're going to have your own Git, by the way. So this is the one that I created, but you're going to have your own. It'll clone that. So it'll look something like, well, if I just jump to my own, well, I won't jump to it, but you're going to have your own GitHub repository that you'll use. So grab that URL. You can import that into here, all right? So just basically copy and paste the URL of your GitHub. You can use GitLab or Bitbucket as well. Okay, so I'm going to call this demo. And then you can basically set your environment variables in here when you deploy. So if I have my .m file, so notice how this is grayed out. By the way, I don't check that into source control because I don't want people seeing this. So, but I'm just going to go and copy and paste these in real quick. It detected that I'm on 11T, but it doesn't detect my environment variables because those are not in source control. So I'm going to add that one, that one. I think it's 3 variables, only a few variables to add in here. My fetch, so I'm putting the fetch key and the preview key. So what this does is it's going to tell Agility that if I'm in preview mode, use preview key. And if I'm in like published mode, if I want to see the published version of the site, use the publish key. So that's because in Agility, we can have like draft content or staging content that's not quite ready yet. So it means that our customer can look at what the site's going to look like before it's published. Okay, so I'm going to deploy this. After setting all my environment variables, it's going to take the code. It's going to basically run an npm run build for me. That basically puts it all together. Did I click build? I thought I clicked build. Did I miss something? Oh, here we go. Can only contain 100 characters. Oh, alpha lemur lowercase. Here we go. project name was incorrect. So now it's going to actually deploy this to Vercel. And by default, it's going to actually deploy this in live mode. All right. So this site is going to be all set up because the default command, I should have shown this, is npm run build, which runs it in, like, it's one of the commands that's set up here. Build that's the actual, like, node. The environment's going to be production. If I run npm run dev, it'll run it in preview mode with the environment node env set to development. So that'll use my preview key. So that's all hooked up in the, there's a folder called agility here that does all that stuff for us. And this is awesome. So Vercel gives us this awesome confetti that runs when my site builds. And now I can visit the site, and lo and behold, I've got this thing deployed. So in like only a few minutes, I was able to get the site, from my Git that I worked on, plug in some environment variables, and it just works. And you can see this is in live mode, okay? If I go back into my project for a second here, open the dashboard and show this project, it has settings. I can actually change my settings with the different build command, and I can run this thing in preview mode. So I can basically, what I do is I actually deploy the site twice, once for live mode, and that's the production URL. Then I deploy it again and set the build command to npm run dev. Check that out. Leave everything else as default. And now it'll actually deploy my site again, I think, and deploy it in preview mode. I think I may have to, is there a redeploy button? I forgot how to redeploy. So the easiest way to redeploy is actually push some code up to make a change, but I don't want to do that. I know that there's a way to redeploy a site. Excuse me 1 second here. I think it's under Git. You can actually set up a deploy hook. I'm sure that's something that I'm missing, and I'm having a little bit of a you can actually create a deploy hook so that I can just basically hit that URL and it'll redeploy my site. A little bit of Vercel trivia for you right there. So if I check my project overview now, it should show that it's actually building. And the other thing about 11T sites is they build really fast. They're like, it's already done, and it took 15 seconds to, sorry, that was 15 seconds ago. It takes very little time to actually create that and update it. But you can see now, if I actually visit this site, it's running in preview mode because I actually added, there's a little, I'll show you. In my page layout, I actually have, hey, if we're in preview mode and there's just a global variable that we set here, then output the preview bar. So this preview bar is this guy up here. So that'll tell your customer that it's like, yeah, I'm in preview mode. And then in agility, once we've got those set up, so we set up a couple of different deployments in Vercel, or you can use 11T as well. Now in agility, it has the ability to set up settings of what's called domains. So I can click, and you can see I've deployed this project like 4 times, twice in Vercel and twice in Netlify. So I deploy it once for, this is my production mode, and then I deploy a preview one. And this is actually, it's on Netlify for preview. So check this out. Now I've got that set up. So say I'm a customer and I come into the CMS and I'm making some changes. I'm in here and I've made some changes to, I've added, I've changed my meta description for this page. I'm going to click save. And then they want to preview that and see what's going on. They can basically just click preview mode, and it will open up the preview version of what they're doing. And now they can see what's happening. I would say the biggest downside of this is that there is a build process that goes on. So between the time I click save and preview, the build might not have finished, but it does finish pretty quick. So, and I've actually set up, I won't go through this, but I've set up a webhook in the background in Agility to make all this work. So, in terms of like going through all the things you have to do, you basically build an 11T site. You can run that locally. Check in your code to GitHub, deploy that to Netlify or Vercel. Deploy it in preview mode and in live mode. And then after that, you hook it up to your CMS so you can give it to your customer. So there's a lot of steps to getting done this. So it's like I very much say, join us on Slack. Actually, what I'm going to do is paste our Slack channel into the window on in the chat here, because that'll help if you guys want to get started on this stuff, I think the link is join Slack. So, it's pretty easy to get started with Netlify. But after that, if you want to get, I keep saying Netlify, with 11T. But once you get it sort of running locally and get some things going, now you want to use it in your job, you need to hook it up to a CMS. And you can do that even if you're going to do a site for a customer, you can do it for free with most headless CMS packages out there, including Agility. And that'll take your work to the next level. That'll take you from a developer that can tinker around and build stuff to someone I can actually make some money building websites, once I've got some experience. And you can do it all for free, which is incredible. So that's just one of those things that's like, I really love the development community and the possibility of tools like, the JAMstack that helps you sort of get started with your career and really take off. And if you're a person if you like coding, if you like being entrepreneurial, and this is what I've seen from a lot of folks, including Open People, a very entrepreneurial guy, and Idris as well. Like, you guys are awesome. You have so much energy with, your youthful energy that's coming out of here. You can put that to work for you for your own benefit. You can make a lot of money building websites and apps using the JAMstack with tools like 11T. So that's that. And, it's been great talking to you folks. If I have any other questions, I just went through a ton of stuff. And skipped over a whole bunch of things that are important. So by all means, reach out to me and jump in and follow me on Twitter. And I have my DMs are open. So I'll just put that link to my Twitter in chat as well. My DMs are open. Ask me questions. Would really love to connect with you folks and help you on your journey and just find out, where you're at on your journey. Oh, the Slack channel, just had a question of the link to the Slack channel. It's up above. So agilitycms.com/join-Slack. So jump on there, join the community, start creating your free project. Start with your own portfolio or your own blog. Get out there on the internet, get writing, get coding. And then it's great that you guys are connecting with these, with the JAMstack groups, these meetups. So that's awesome. And a lot of information, but I couldn't wait to share it. So thanks everybody for tuning in.
Yeah. Basically, if there is any question, you can kindly ask in the comment section below. So you can ask any question you want to ask in the comment section here. So yeah, I actually heard someone is requesting for the Slack channel link. Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to look for it now. Please hang on. Please wait a second. Trying to look for. Yeah, so I'm trying to look for the Slack channel link. Trying to look for it. Yeah, I've seen it. So I'm going to share it here in the. I'm going to share it now. Yeah, I think it's there. Ask any question you want to ask from Giovati, or any question related to 11T or Agility CMS. You can kindly ask for me or Giovati. I think that's the best option. Then you can also get into the JAMstack, the Agility CMS Slack channel. So thanks to everyone who joined this webinar, or let me just say JAMstack Lagos virtual meetup. Thanks so much to everyone who are attending at the moment. Yeah, so thanks so much. So can't wait to see you maybe in March or February. Yeah, I think February is going to be the best time for our next meetup, or maybe that should be a on-site, or how do I call an in-person event, or not even remotely again, or virtually. Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, so thanks so much for attending. See you in the next meetup. Bye.